Raise your hand if you've ever sat in a group brainstorm thinking, this is a complete waste of time. Yeah, I thought so. I'm Ashley and I've worked in advertising for 14 years, and if there's one thing that strikes me with absolute dread seeing it pop up on my calendar, it's a group brainstorm. I've watched the same mistakes kill creativity in these sessions and waste everyone's time over and over and over again. Let me guess what your last group brainstorm looked like. 10 people sitting around a conference room, one person throws out the problem like, we need a big idea for this campaign. Then, silence. Some uncomfortable shifting. Maybe someone finally speaks up and says something totally obvious. The loudest person in the room eventually takes over the conversation. Everyone else either zones out completely or wastes time scribbling notes in their notebook that they will never look at ever again. And after an hour of this, you walk out feeling like that meeting could have just been an email. Sound familiar? If this feels like your life, I feel you. Because here's the truth. Traditional group brainstorms are working against human psychology. There's actually decades of research about this. Studies consistently show that group brainstorming produces fewer and lower quality ideas than when people work individually. And psychologists have identified exactly why this happens. First, there's something called social loafing. This is when, in groups, some people just kind of naturally check out and let other people do the work. Second is production blocking. Only one person can talk at a time. So while someone is sharing their idea, everyone else is forced to sit there and wait, which can kill their creative momentum. And third is evaluation apprehension. This is the fear of looking stupid in front of your coworkers. Being creative is already pretty vulnerable, but when doing it in a group, you're asking people to be vulnerable and get judged in real time.
Please don't judge me.
So when you combine these psychological barriers with the pressure to solve everything right now, you get exactly what you've been experiencing. A room full of people staring at a whiteboard, waiting for someone else to speak first.
It's okay.
So does this mean group brainstorms are just hopeless? Not at all. It just means we need to work with human psychology and not against it. Here's fix number one. Create some psychological safety with ground rules. Start by saying things like, there are no bad ideas here. We're not judging, we're building. Or the goal is quantity, not perfection. You could even do a first round where you ask everyone to intentionally come up with bad ideas. Ask everyone to share their worst possible solutions. That will break the tension in the room and remind people that the bar to speak up and participate is actually pretty low. And this directly addresses that evaluation apprehension problem. When people know they're not going to be judged for their wild or imperfect ideas, they're more willing to take creative risks. And those risks are often where breakthrough ideas come from. Fix number two is to remember that not everyone thinks out loud. Give people ways to contribute silently or non-verbally. This can be sticky notes on a wall or a shared digital whiteboard, or even just 5 minutes of individual thinking and writing before anyone speaks. This lets the introverts get their ideas out too. You could even have people write down ideas anonymously and just throw all the pieces of paper into a pile. That removes that feeling of being watched and judged for every single contribution.
Oh, nobody's judging you.
Some of the best ideas can come from the people who need time to think, not necessarily the people who think the fastest and the loudest. I am admittedly one of those people. I am not great at thinking creatively off the cuff or in group settings. I get super self-conscious, I hold back a lot, I don't speak up as much as I should, and I know I'm not alone in that. So giving folks like me an outlet to share or think a little differently can help quite a bit. Doing this can also eliminate that production blocking problem where people forget their own ideas while waiting for their turn to talk. Fix number three is to stop treating the brainstorm like you have to walk out with the solution. Instead, frame it as exploration. Say something like, we're not trying to solve this today, we're just collecting some interesting directions to explore. This removes the pressure and lets people's brains be creative instead of panicking the entire time.
Taylor, you're panicking.
Uh-huh. Join me, won't you?
You could even be totally honest with them and say, most of the ideas that are gonna come out in this room will not make it to the final destination, and that's totally okay. Remember, the goal is quantity and exploration, not perfection. Fix number 4 is to give people's brains something concrete to work with. Instead of staring at a wall asking, what should we do? Break the problem down with specific prompts. Try, what would our biggest competitor never do? Or, what if we had to explain this complicated product to a 5-year-old? You could also use constraint-based prompts, like, what if we only had $100 to work with? Or what if we couldn't use any words and only had to communicate this with visuals? Constraints like this can actually boost your creativity because you're forcing your brain to think differently. Thinking inside a box can be very beneficial sometimes. A completely blank canvas is overwhelming, but a canvas with some interesting boundaries and guidelines, that gets the brain moving. I have another video where I talk about creating constraints for yourself to come up with better ideas and get your brain unstuck. That can definitely help you there. Another approach is to break your big task into smaller tasks that you can do sequentially throughout your brainstorming session. Instead of just throwing out, come up with a campaign idea, go. Try something like, first, let's figure out what success looks like for this campaign. And then move into brainstorming about the audience and who you're talking to. And then maybe you think just about the tone of the campaign, and so on and so forth. Give people those smaller, more concrete tasks that are easier to wrap their brains around. And fix number 5, someone actually needs to facilitate the session and not just participate. This means keeping the time, steering the conversation with prompts and questions, making sure everyone is participating, and also making sure one person isn't taking over the conversation. If everyone's just throwing out ideas with no structure, you're gonna get chaos, not creativity. A good facilitator watches the dynamics of the room. They'll notice that one quiet person and subtly invite them into the conversation. They'll notice when the conversation is going in circles and start to redirect it. They're like a referee, preventing the session from derailing into awkward silence or unproductive tangents. When group brainstorms work, they feel completely different. People are engaged, not checked out. Ideas build on each other instead of competing. The quiet people speak up, the loud people listen. And you walk out energized with actual directions and ideas to explore and not just a messy whiteboard. The difference comes down to understanding these psychological barriers and designing around them. So the next time you're planning a group brainstorm, try one of these techniques. And if you're stuck in someone else's terrible group brainstorm, maybe send them this video. What's the best or worst group brainstorm you've ever experienced? Please let me know in the comments. And if you want more tips on how to improve your creative thinking, subscribe for more stuff about advertising.